Here's an interesting idea. What if the next Elder Scrolls wasn't set in Tamriel at all, but actually in the kingdom of Akavir? So far every Elder Scrolls game has been released in the world of Tamriel. We've obviously had High Rock, Cyrodiil, Skyrim, Morrowind, as well as a couple of others, and obviously I did talk about this in a previous video. But there has been a lot of discussion recently about where the next Elder Scrolls game has been set. Obviously that is a big part of the game, because obviously it's where you're going to be exploring, it's where you're going to be, playing the game, so it is really important that it's set in the right place. A lot of people have been talking about Somerset Isle, because it's, a pretty big contrast to Skyrim, of the greys and all the low hues of Skyrim. It's pretty nice. Somerset Isle's all nice and colourful, so a lot of people have been talking about that. Some people have been talking about places like Elsewhere and Valemud just because they haven't actually been explored before, and some people have even speculated that it could be like the whole world, or even just revisiting an older place. So there's pretty much, as far as speculation goes, anything goes at the minute. And as cool as it would be if they remade Morrowind, or if they maybe set us somewhere new like the Somerset Isles or Valemud, I think it could be really interesting if they took us to somewhere completely new, i.e. Akavir. So if you look at the map of the Elder Scrolls world, you'll realise that it's actually way bigger than a lot of people actually think. Now, you've actually got Tamriel, which is obviously the world we know, but that's actually only one of 4 continents. There's a pretty big continent above it, one to the left and one to the right. And today I'm going to be talking about Akavir, which is the island just off to the right, which is pretty big, but it's not quite as big as the other ones, but it's still big enough to have the game set. So for those of you who don't know, Akavir is actually not inhabited by humans, which could actually be a drawback, but it could be interesting, but we'll talk about this a little bit later on. It's basically inhabited by 4 races of people who are collectively called the Akaviri. So these 4 races are the Snow Demons, the Serpent Men, the Monkey People, and the Tiger Dragons. So this is pretty much unexplored land. The people of Tamriel have never really been over there, mainly because first of all it's really far away, and secondly it's a pretty brutal land, and that's how it's described in the lore. It's a pretty brutal land, and no one's ever really been there recently, so there's no real reason for them to actually go there. They just sort of don't need to be there. So what does this mean? Well, this means that it's pretty much unexplored. Now, I know if we were putting Elsewhere or Valemud from a player's perspective, then it's already for the most part pretty unexplored, even though it was available in Arena. This is awesome because this is a completely new land. It wasn't even in Arena, and even to the people of Tamriel, for those of you who are sort of getting into the character, this land is completely unexplored. It's completely new, and there's we don't even know what's going on down there, to be honest. It's like fucking Papua New Guinea. So I'm not sure how to pronounce this, but the Seiski, who are basically the serpent people, those are maybe the most well-known race and probably the largest race that live over there. So in the past, they were actually the reason why there are no humans left on Akavir, because they actually wiped them out, and they've also actually launched attacks on Cyrodiil itself. So obviously these dudes are pretty violent, and obviously that would mean that the land that they now inhabit is obviously going to be pretty violent and brutal as well. But I think this pretty much ticks all the boxes, because it has monkey people, so there's people that you could talk to, there are good people, but there's also bad people, dangerous people, i.e. the main enemy would probably be the serpent people, and there's also dragons as well, because I know a lot of people have been saying that they would like to see the dragons back, and this would give the Elder Scrolls team over at Bethesda a good opportunity to work at trying to improve the dragon system from before, but it will obviously be, leave it open for them to bring them back. It won't just be like, hey, we're doing Valemud and also there's dragons here, because there's already dragons living in Akavir, so they'll be able to do it in Akavir and have dragons in, and they won't have to come up with an excuse or anything. They'll just be dragons there, so it's already there. But yeah, so now that we know a little bit about Akavir and what it actually is, I'm going to talk about the pros and cons of setting it there. So first of all, I'm going to list off the pros. So first of all, and this is probably the biggest pro, is that this is completely unknown, as I mentioned before. This wasn't even done in Arena, so this will give us a completely new area to explore, and as Pete Hines actually said, the difference to anything we've done before, whilst also being a Bethesda style game, kind of big and crazy, but in many ways different than things we've done before. Now obviously I did mention this in a previous video when we were talking about the 3 projects that Pete Hines was talking about, and this is what he was talking about, the 3 projects that he didn't want to actually announce. He said that they were going to be Bethesda style, but they're different than anything that we've done before, but still big and crazy. And I think this suits Akavir pretty well, because if you look at it, it's a pretty big place, and if they wanted to do the entire of Akavir, that would be a pretty big project to undertake, but it would also be very different. Now, the entire of Tamriel is inhabited by the exact same races, so every game you have the same races available to us, from Oblivion, Skyrim, Morrowind, etc. Going over to Akavir, these are 4 completely different races we've never seen before in the Elder Scrolls games. So this would be something new. Obviously it's a new land to explore, which is what the pro I listed before. It's new people to get to know. It's just a lot of new stuff, and I think this suits the build pretty well. Okay, next pro, as I mentioned before as well, is the dragons. Now, obviously, dragons are already inhabiting there. Now, a lot of people said they wanted dragons back, but they wanted them fixing. This would give them a great opportunity to do that, because the dragons do already live there. Now, if they wanted to set it in somewhere in Tamriel, they'd maybe have to think of some sort of excuse to fit dragons into it. But with this game, you know, they don't have to do that because the dragons already inhabit there, so it's fun. Okay, next up, I also want to mention the fact that a lot of people said the general consensus for Skyrim was that it looked very nice, but it was a little bit bland, a little bit colourless, a lot of whites and greys and stuff because of the snow in the mountains. This is a great opportunity for them to work on Akavir, because like I said before, which is something I've said a lot in this video, we have no idea about Akavir. No one's been there before in the game, let alone in real life, in games, you know? So they have a great opportunity to build around what the people want. Because at the end of the day, people now are talking way more than they did previously when they were making previous games. Because let's put it this way, when Oblivion came out, YouTube was only just becoming a thing, so there weren't tons of people giving their opinions on YouTube and getting tons of discussions going in comments and stuff, and all that sort of stuff. But now we have YouTube, we have social networks, we have forums, you know, Twitter, all that sort of stuff. So people are giving their opinions more than ever. So if they want to take this opportunity to build a world around what the fans want, Akavir is perfect because we don't know what's already there, so they can use this opportunity to build a new world based around what people want. As opposed to saying like, oh, it's elsewhere, but at the end of the day, elsewhere is like the sort of deserty land, so you know, they have to make it a deserty land, they can't make it what they want, but with Akavir, they pretty much have free reign to do it as they want to do it. Okay, but now moving over to the cons, and honestly, for the most part, it's just sort of one main point, which is all like a few small points merged together, so let's talk about those. So my main thing is the fact that there aren't any humans living on this island. Now, I don't really know anything about the monkey people, but the way I saw it is they were sort of like a cross between humans and monkeys, so they could talk, and in my opinion, that like I'd like to see that if they were like the alternate version of humans, that could be interesting, but at the same time it would just be weird not having anyone to talk to, because at the end of the day, as I said before, the races, you have the monkey people which could you talk to, but obviously the tiger dragons you'd just be fighting, the serpent men are your enemies, and then the snow demons are demons, so they're not like, you know, you can't talk to them, they're feral, they'll attack you. So with regards to actual NPCs, that only leaves the monkey people, so that makes it very restricted in what they can actually do without changing the lore. Now honestly, there isn't a ton of lore surrounding this place. When I talked about it before, about the races and about how the humans have been wiped out, that's pretty much all there is with it at the moment, to my knowledge at least. So I honestly, if they started adding more races into it, I don't think that would really ruin it too much. But you know, as Akavir stands at the minute, a lot of it is just a bunch of small villages. There aren't any like massive cities or anything. So if they did want to keep it on the similar sort of scale, and bearing in mind, like, you know, as Bethesda games go, it's always going to be bigger than the last one. If they want to make it on the same scale even, they're going to have to add a lot more that isn't already there, and they're going to have to change the way it is at the minute. So I think it's very sort of catch-22. It could go either way. It could be awesome because it's new land, there's so much to explore, you know, we won't know what to expect, but also it could be sucky because they'll have to do a lot more work to actually make it work. So honestly, I think it could go either way, and honestly this was just a bit of an idea that it could be set in Akavir, and then some speculations and why it could be cool that it could be set there, but at the same time I think it really could go either way, and we'll obviously have to see later on down the line when they start to announce more stuff. But I just, you know, I've been obviously doing a lot of reading recently about Elder Scrolls 6, and this is something which I came across this island and I thought it'd be cool, and I would try and like to do more research into the other continent, because obviously that is not only way bigger, but each individual province on the other continent is actually bigger than like any province in Tamriel. So I will probably do a separate video talking about the other continent. But anyway, yeah, that's pretty much going to do for this video. Let me know what you guys think about Akavir. Mainly, do you guys think it would work? What your guys' opinion are on them setting it on Akavir, or if you have any more speculations recently that I've missed. Other than that though, my name's Yeti. If you did like this video, sort of smash that like button, it's really helping the channel out recently, and it will help me even more if you do it again for this video. So thank you very much for watching. My name's Yeti, and I will see you guys next time. Peace, peace.